joined us today. I'm very happy to be here with you. Probably the happiest one here. Um, I won't tell you the story right now. We don't have the time because I have a lot of interesting things to share with you. There are four main ideas in today's presentation. First, I wanted to remember why the well-being of employees is so important. I know you know it, but for the sake of our subject today, it is important to remember it. Why it was important before the crisis, why is it even more important today? Then we're going to speak about the discrepancy between what we think makes people happy, makes our employee happy, and what is the reality, the results that I had so far, and the results that we're still having during the crisis. Then we are going to dive into the root of the problem, where this discrepancy is coming for, to finish with what I'm calling leading for well-being, and you'll see what I mean by that. So first of all, I wanted to remind you why employee well-being is so important. Why should we care? Well, actually, you should care for two reasons. First, because it pays you in terms of results. Second, because if you don't care about it, you pay for that. You'll see that the price is really expensive. So what do I mean by it pays? Well, actually, there's a bunch of studies showing how much the results are getting better when the company is taking care of employees' well-being. I will give you some hints. If you want to crunch the data, you can do it after the webinar. I only put it here for you to know that there is a lot of very interesting numbers and studies that you can discover afterwards. Everything I'm saying is built on real data, but I will only give you that information that caring about people well-being generates less turnover. At least it was true until the crisis. Less health costs. When you have a happy organization, you have a bigger increase in customer ratings. I mean, if your teams are happy, they will transmit this happiness to the clients and customers. They will be nicer, they will have a nicer tone, and so on. And there will be a bigger productivity, and not only productivity of your people, but also, and you can see it on the last lines of my slide, that 100 best companies to work for in America beat their peers by 2% to 3% per year over a 26-year period, which means that happy organizations are really, really the winners of the market. And I want to point out that when I'm speaking, I'm using both well-being and happiness. When I'm using the word happiness, I am really meaning the subjective well-being. In psychology and sociology, we're speaking about subjective well-being, but I'm using both words, well-being and happiness. So those are the benefits of the well-being for the companies. But it is the same for what we get from our employees directly. Well, when we're caring for their well-being, they are being more productive, they're being more resilient, and they're being more creative. They're bringing more ideas. They are sharing their ideas. They are finding creative solutions. So there are really a lot of benefits. So it pays. What if you don't? Well, actually, it costs a lot of money. I will give you just a few numbers for the UK, the Center of Mental Health Care provided these numbers, and I will tell you that for every employee, unhappy employee, it costs £1,300 a year. Multiply it with 10, with 100, with 1,000, and you will see the results. And with very few efforts, you can have a saving of 30% or most of this cost, increasing a little bit the happiness, the well-being of your teams. In France, it's even more expensive because of the legislation and because of other aspects. It costs 13,000 euros a year per employee. So multiply it once again with the number of unhappy people. And for the United States, I will only give you that. Private employees have 41% lower health-related costs, which makes $3,000 per person. And in terms of turnover, unhappy people leave the company, right? And it costs lower turnover rates, and associated costs are of $2,000 per person employed. So if you don't do what it takes, you'll have to pay the price in both senses. All right. So well-being is really really important for the company and for employees. What are were we doing before the crisis? Well, in normal times, we're taking care of our employees through the perks, the very pragmatical perks. We're giving great packages, trainings, careers, work-life balance, and so on. And on the other hand, we were trying to take care of them through the purpose, stimulating engagement, trying to work on resilience, and trying to cultivate pro-social skills like kindness. Since the crisis arrived, with this leading from home, we're doing even more as leaders for our employees. We're trying to really structure the schedule to make sure they're feeling okay, to support them with technology, emotionally, and in all aspects that are in our power to do. So we're already doing a lot of stuff. We're doing it before, we're doing it right now. But there is still a problem. In the last study of Great Place to Work, end of last year, there was this information, this amazing information. Half of the global workforce is still not happy at work. It makes 1 billion of people on the planet are still not happy. So my first question would be, is it really about the crisis? We already had 2 months ago 1 billion of people were not happy. So is it really about the crisis? And we'll see that without minimizing the current situation and the crisis that it's about to come, because we all know that it is probably only the beginning. But despite the crisis, the problem is not there. It's not because we're not doing the right thing. It is because the things we're doing are answering to another question. But let's move further. It was just a step back to have the big picture and to understand where I'm going. So where is this discrepancy coming from? Well, before the crisis, if you ask people what makes you happy or what would make you happier, they were usually answering a better job, a better boss, more money, a relationship, family, kids, anything. And they were still not happy, remember. Now, people added to this list a secure job, more money, staying healthy, getting out, returning to normality. So they still think that external things are going to make them happy. So if I am having a secure job, I will be happy. If I'm staying healthy, I will be happy. Oh, really? I told to John earlier a little joke, a little anecdote, but for me is full of meaning. There was this man, very unhappy, who went to see God and asked him to help him to be happy, to get rid of his problems because he cannot take it anymore. His wife, his boss, his job, his kids, everything. It was too hard to take. So please, God, take it off, and I will be happy. And God said, okay, I will take it off on one condition. You stay alone with your thoughts and you are happy. I'm taking your problems, but you have to be happy. Do you think that that person was really happy, even without what he thought was the problem? Well, actually, the answer from a very scientific point of view is that no. And why? Because if you take the research, the answer is that external circumstances has a very little impact in reality compared to what we think. If you take two people working in the same office, same conditions, same pressure, same colleagues, same bosses, same turnover to make, whatever, same condition, the difference of well-being will be impacted by the environment at 10% only. When you ask a person how much what is happening today is impacting your well-being, they usually say 70, 80, 90%. But this is not true because, and here there is something really tough. I want you to stay with me because this is really tough to digest. Because, as I was probably saying during the first webinar, the objective reality is less important than the interpretation that we make of it and the response that we have to it. Think for 1 second why there are people seeing the opportunity in the crisis and people seeing the threat in the crisis. It's because we have very different background, life experiences, and so on, and we interpret differently the reality. So the objective reality is less important than the way we respond to it. And in other words, it is to say that external reality depends on our internal reality. And our mind can play for us, with us as a team, or it can play against us. And what we think determines what we see. I was mentioning previously that when we are down, we're feeling down, we're only seeing very few things. While when things are going our way, we're looking up, we're really in good shape, we're feeling well, we're seeing the big pictures. Well, actually, the external reality is really made of our internal reality. And why is that? How can we explain that? Well, there are some features of the mind which prevents us from being really happy. And the first one is what it is called, and those are made up words. We had the conversation with John about that. Miswanting and mispredicting. We want the wrong things and we mispredict. We think that these things will going to make us happy, and actually it won't. Just to make you understand the idea, I will show you this picture. And I would like you to think about the difference that you see, which one is longer, which one is bigger. We probably don't have the time right now to write on chat your answers. But what I'm telling you is that despite what you are seeing, these two tables are completely identical. I want you to take just a paper and to measure. You'll see that they are identical. The problem is that you can understand it, you can conceptualize it in your mind, you can understand it intellectually, you got it. The problem is that your eyes continue to see that these tables are just different. There is no way they can be identical. Well, that happens with our mind when it comes to happiness / well-being, where we know that some things are not good for us, but we're still jumping on. Maybe this job is not good for me, but I'm jumping. Maybe this man or this woman is not good for me, but I'm jumping. And I'm sure at this precise moment that it will make me really, really happy. And what happens? Well, actually, we don't feel as we predicted that we would feel. And this is the first filter. The second, and yes, it applies also if I'm telling you that if you would get hit by a car, you'd say that your life is ruined, and you would be wrong. And if I'm telling you that you are going to earn 27 million of euros, you'll be the happiest woman or man in the world, and you would still be wrong. your mind is really, really not seeing the reality as it is. And why is that? One other explanation is because of the reference point. What do I mean by that? Take a look at this picture. Depending on the position of your screen, you'll see that the orange point is bigger on one side compared to the other. Our brain is not able to think in terms of absolute. It always compares things to something. It impacts our lives at every moment, in every decision, in everything we're doing, without us even knowing it. It comes from jobs and money and relationships and body and whatever you can think of. We're always comparing to something, and depending on our reference point, if we don't pay attention, we can get really unhappy. While paying attention to what am I really comparing myself to, that really can make us happy. And it is worth to pay attention to this filter. There are really a huge amount of studies on this point, and I will only give you an example which matches today's situation. When you think about unemployment, you think it's horrible. This is something really bad, worst thing that can happen to you. You won't have money anymore. Your life will be ruined, right? Well, actually, it depends on your reference point once again. If everybody in your region, and actually I'm speaking about a precise study, if everybody in your region is in this situation, it will make you less unhappy that you think you'll be. So in any aspect of our lives, we're taking some reference points. So pay attention to the reference point. You'll see that it can really make the difference. And here there is an exercise made in Harvard School of Public Health. We think about Harvard like the place where brilliant minds are, and but you'd be astonished of their answers. The little game is that you have a new job. It's precisely the same context in the two options, but you can have this assignment, this job, in two situations. In the first one, you can have the job being paid $50,000, and with $50,000 you can have practically anything you need. But everyone else is earning 25. And the second option is you can have the job where you can be paid 100, while all the others are paid 250. So you can have 50, everybody else 25, or you can have 100, but everybody else 250. And this is a dilemma. It should be a simple choice. Well, it turns out that when you ask people what would they prefer as an option, you have 50-50. There are people who just cannot bear the idea of less than others, and others who are justifying their choice by the fact they cannot conceive being paid more for the same job as the others. I mean, that's my point in the reference point. And I don't know if you saw the little drawing here. So okay, boss, if you can see a way to giving me a pay raise, how about giving Parkinson a pay cut? This is precisely the reference point of the social comparison. Why should he earn more? And we're constantly doing that in all aspects of our life. We're comparing and taking reference points. But we're not conscious, once again. The third point is the hedonic adaptation. We're not conscious of the fact that we're always wanting for something, always running for something, always saying, if I would have that, make me happy. To do that or whatever, it will make me happy. It turns out that no way. Hedonic adaptation is about getting used to anything that we're having in our lives, and the initial sparkle fades away no matter what. Think about the thing you wanted the most in your life. At one point, it is the glamour disappeared because you got used to it. Unless, and here I'm giving you a hint, unless you are consciously choosing to stay involved in the appreciation of this point. And the last filter is what I'm calling the immune neglect. When something bad happens to us, we have the feeling that we'll never be back again at the initial situation. Our brain is what we call focalism, is focused only on the negative, unable to see the after whatever it is. So we think that the crisis will ruin our life. It's not true. If I'm losing my job, it will ruin my life. It's not true. But we're once again mispredicting, and there are people suffering who learn that they have diseases, very hard diseases, who in the first place are thinking that their life is finished, and afterwards, after recovering, realize that actually they are experiencing this new condition as an opportunity for something else. So remember the 4 filters. We're mispredicting, miswanting. We're very impacted by the reference point and the social comparison. There is hedonic adaptation in anything that we think is going to make us happy, make us stay well. And there is this immune neglect, which prevents us for seeing the big picture and the after whatever happens to us. And this is why I'm saying that the root of the problem of the well-being, ours and of our employees, is not about what we're really offering to them. We're offering a lot. It is really very much about themselves. And to do that, I think what the new age, new way of leading is to use the power, like in martial arts, use the power of your adversary, not in the negative sense adversary, but use the power of your people. If you learn how to deal with yourself and you teach them what real well-being is for themselves, well, you are going to create together a positive spiral. You are going to reach results by cultivating this subjective well-being. How to do that? I will finish with 3 hints. First of all, happy people, really deeply studied by some researchers, are dedicating time to family and friends. They're expressing gratitude. They're helping others. They're living in the present moment, not in a possible, potential something, no matter what. They are optimists. They are savoring moments. They are having long-term goals. What I want to point out is that they are not speaking about the jobs, the cars, the houses, the kids, and the wife. Those are external things, while what they are cultivating is internal things. And this is actually what shows us that internal reality creates our external reality. Don't forget what I told you at the very first webinar, that the 3 golden rules are to go beyond the negativity bias, to hunt volitionally the positive, and to manage negative emotions for yourself and for your teams. How can you do that? Well, there are individual and groups tools like conferences, workshops, where you can really work on these topics. And here you have a couple of them. And on the other side, there are digital tools, there are applications with micro coachings that can really, in a very personalized manner, can walk you through this process of well-being. And the last word is to take one step further. For me, the new way, the new style of leadership is really leadership for well-being. User the power which is inside your people to make people a better place. It is the case to say it now, and it is even more important for the future. So I'm done for today. I hope you grasped the idea of well-being, what it is supposed to be, what it really is, and how you can use it for yourself and for your teams in order to succeed even during this crisis as isolated leaders. Any questions? Welcome, and thank you for your attention.